Good evening, non-existent viewers. I just got back from seeing M3GAN, the latest horror film made by Blumhouse Studios, and it centers around a little girl named Katie. Her parents die in a tragic car accident, and her aunt Gemma takes her in and raises her. And Gemma has been put through the ringer by her workspace, and she develops toys and electronics, and she decides to use her new prototype named M3GAN to be sort of like a support figure for Katie in this difficult time she's in. And M3GAN becomes a lot more tense and unpredictable, and a whole lot of AI madness goes down from there. When I first heard about M3GAN, and if I'm gonna be totally honest, I was completely dreading it because, oh my goodness, Blumhouse is shoving out another horror film in the month of January, which is notoriously like the worst month for films that studios just like shoot out whatever garbage it is that people are just gonna forget about, right? But then I did not look at any reviews. I didn't watch any reviews. I didn't even like see the trailer for this film. But by word of mouth and by seeing, like, again, not watching other movie reviews, by seeing people smiling the thumbnails on their videos, especially from like bigger YouTubers, my expectations for it became progressively more optimistic. And walking out of the theater, guys, from M3GAN, I gotta say, I was quite impressed. Like, this film, M3GAN, and last year we got Scream 5. I think these are the two films that are like breaking the curse that January has over like movies, especially horror films. I have a very particular taste in horror films, and anyone who's watched enough of my movie reviews over the years, like for horror films, probably knows that I don't scare that easily, and I really don't like it when horror movies are like overly reliant on jump scares or gore or just like, being super R-rated to scare me, because that's not scary. That's just cringy and gross. My favorite horror films are more or less like character driven and like atmosphere and like tension driven. I want to have the feeling that something could just go wrong at any moment. This film is PG-13, which usually would be a weakness for horror films, but for once I can say the PG-13 rating actually worked in the film's favor, because when it gets more violent or more bloody, or when there's more profanity, or where there's more like, suggestive moments, there's just a lot more gravity to it. With like R-rated horror films, yeah, we get plenty of F-bombs and blood and gore and tits and violence and, just grisly madness. But like throughout this film, those moments are more few and far between. And yeah, I got the intention. I got the atmosphere. I felt like I was there in a weird sense. This film was beautifully shot, and I think M3GAN looks very realistic. So yeah, this film didn't exactly scare me. Like, it didn't drive home from the theater feeling like extra paranoid, or like when I was in the theater, I didn't feel like, oh gosh, this is terrifying. Like, I think that I wasn't getting that, but where that film was lacking in scares and suspense, I think it really made up for in two certain areas. The social commentary this film provides on technology and how it like affects our children, and this film's sense of humor. This is a horror comedy. There's plenty of moments where I was laughing out loud in the theater. Like, there's this one scene in particular where M3GAN's like dancing in the hallway, and it's like a very demented version of the dance scene in Wednesday's fourth episode on Netflix, which I thought was really cool. And I think the film's commentary, like how it's very relevant. Again, AI movies or like horror films about kids' toys, like, Child's Play with Chucky, where a kid's toy comes to life and just wreaks absolute havoc. Nothing we haven't seen before. Like, we've seen films like this since like Terminator 1984, where like there's the whole message about like, how humanity is overly reliant on machines. I think that theme is more relevant than it ever has been, especially with living the pandemic for the past like nearly 3 years. Like, I feel bad for kids who grow up with like lockdowns and mask mandates and social distancing and like online classes, because like when we're like talking to each other face to face, it's not just like making eye contact and hearing each other's voices. It's also looking at each other's facial movements. Like, when I'm speaking to you, my lips are moving, and you can like see what words are coming out of my mouth, even if you can't hear me that clearly. If you're like deaf or hard of hearing, you can't really do that when you're wearing a face mask. And it's even more difficult when it's like over like a Zoom call or over FaceTime or something, like, when it's not in person. That's exactly what Katie, the little girl in this film, has to go through with M3GAN, because M3GAN is not a human being. She's a doll, she's a toy, she's a robot. And scenes where like M3GAN's taken away from her, when Gemma's like, okay, you've had enough of M3GAN, like Katie just goes absolutely ballistic. She screams, she curses, she gets violent even, and she just does not function well without it. And there's this whole corporate message where like Gemma's boss in this film doesn't give a crap about the consumers. All he wants to do is just make a profit. It just goes to show like how technology, like electronics, can be very good for children, but can also, it's very important that we manage for every time there's like we leave our kids their electronics, we spend even more time with them like in person, face to face. And I think this film captured that message excellently. And I gotta say, guys, all in all, M3GAN, I walked away feeling quite impressed. In 2023, I never ever thought in the years I've ever been reviewing movies would ever hear myself say this, but January has started off with a banger. Like, M3GAN certainly earns a 7 out of 9 stars. It's a really likable film, and I highly recommend you guys go see it. Okay, I owe you guys an apology. I was really hoping to make, I uploaded 3 videos, you know, my top 9 best movies and top 5 worst movies 2022, and my 9 most anticipated movies of the year list. Yeah, I was really hoping to just make like a whole top like 9/5 week for the first like week of January, just like bang bang boom, just 7 days in a row, just hit you guys with like list videos like that. I'll spare you guys the details. My year has gotten off to a rather rocky and stressful start, and not making excuses, just offering explanations, and that's why my uploads haven't been as consistent as I hope they would. My apologies. But my plans after January this year are still kind of up in the air, but I feel like I can get back to a more consistent uploading schedule. So yeah, thank you guys so much for understanding. I'm really hoping to get back to that little spree of top 5 and top 9 videos. I'm very excited to do that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you've seen M3GAN, let me know what you're like. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just okay? Or did you like it, dislike it? Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to my channel, please. My name is M3GAN. You guys have a nice night. Stay beastly.